A little over 2 years ago, I was sitting beside my dad's bed while he was in his last moments of his battle with pancreatic cancer. I was the only family member in the room with him. What I didn't know is the months after that, I would be dealing with the ways that I did and didn't show up for him. This video is about that. As actors, we grieve in a unique way that isn't always talked about. I've been acting, I'm Lisa Rodríguez, and I've been acting since I was 8 years old. And one of the things I love about acting is that being able to take people to a place emotionally that they couldn't get to or didn't want to get to on their own. You know, they won't go see a therapist or a counselor, maybe even tell their friend what they're going through, but they'll come with me on my messy journey. And so this video is about that, my messy journey. Now, I'm muy llorona, like my late grandmother, so I will most likely be crying. I'm not ashamed of my tears, but I'm still very much a work in progress and probably always will be. Well, I know I always will be, but in regards to this specifically. And I just want to share with you some of the things that I found, because maybe it could be something that's helpful for you. And so you'll know you're not alone in this. So that's my goal for you guys. By the end of this video, you'll have at least that. I think one of the first things is that grief, it's not just sadness. Oftentimes that's how it's labeled. It's just sadness. And that's not accurate at all. It's more than just that. It's more than just that. A lot of times when we think of grief, we kind of visualize it like this. Like it's going to be a linear path, but it's not. We start here with our journey, and then it goes all these over places, and then we end up there. Now, that's not the vision we have of progress, right? We think of this nice little line that's just wait for you guys. It's increasing, or it's steadily going along. But that's not life. That's not reality. It's messy. There's times where it looks like you're going forward in your progress, and then it's like you're going backwards, and suddenly you feel like you're upside down, and it's a challenge. So just know it's not pretty. It's not linear. It's going to be like probably nothing you've ever experienced before. And grief, it's not just about death. It's about loss of a relationship, a version of yourself, and even the future you imagined with that person. We don't always think about that. It's not just about their passing. It's all the things that could have been and would have been that now aren't. And one of the things unique for us actors, especially since, we have so much emotional memory, which can be fun, is triggered in unexpected places. I had this happen to me about a month after his passing. I had a call back for a commercial, and it was around a hospital that specifically treated cancer. And I remember after my audition, I don't even know if the director I know was speaking, and then I responded. And one of the things I said, you know what, I think I'm too close to this. My dad just passed away of pancreatic cancer the month before. And I think I was too close to be able to rein myself back. Because sometimes that's what you need to do as an actor. It's not just blah of emotions. It's skilled in what we share, what we share on on our faces, and then what we're sharing from behind our eyes, and then also what we don't share. It's very intentional. So don't be surprised if you're triggered in an audition, on set or on stage, on on stage when you've been doing that same thing for weeks and nothing, and then suddenly you feel this rush of emotions and feelings, and learning to, especially when you're on stage, there is no cut, we'll do it again. You just got to go with it. And you got to learn to adapt with it and play it into where your character starts at, where they end at that scene, and only that in the story. It can be very challenging. I like to say when things are challenging, fun. You got to be able to think on your toes and still keep it moving forward, which also can feel dishonest because you kind of have to craft it to that character and their response. And it can feel dishonest also because you're not fully expressing yourself how you would want to. So that's challenging. And especially it's happening in front of others, strangers. And you're like, oh, now I'm not being honest with my grief or with what I experienced. And that also can be very complicated. But one of the things we have to remember is, as actors, we tend to be prone to retaining emotions. And sometimes this is a survival skill. But one of the things we have to be mindful of is we got to release. You got to let it go. You can't hold on to it forever. You got to deal with it. You got to go through it. There's so many people, not just actors, who lose themselves. And they'll go to okay, let me eat cake, chocolate cake all the time, or ice cream. Let me lose myself in drinking. Let me lose myself by getting high so I can't feel anything. You got to deal with it. You can't hold on to that emotion. And so that might mean that maybe you set aside a time. Saturday at 4 p.m. I'm going to think about this. I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to let myself feel it. Schedule a time if you need to. But we can't retain this. That doesn't mean that if you don't process this, that emotion won't be available for you for future roles. No. Just like you don't have to go out and sleep with 65 people to understand what it's like to play a prostitute. Okay? You don't have to do that. And so if you process and release this emotion, it doesn't mean you won't have that available to you to access again. This is permanently a part of you. It's permanently a part of you, and a part of you knows the truth of that moment and how you're feeling. And it will always be available to you. But you got to release it. You can't let ugliness take root in your heart, because the same sun that melts butter hardens clay. And as actors, our hearts have to be soft. We have to be malleable to whatever character we're stepping into in their situation. But on a personal level, you can't let your heart get hard. You can't. You'll start living a half-life. And as actors, we have to live fully. Some people will never live a full life. They only live a full life through us. So don't you start living a half-life. Don't retain these emotions. You gotta let it go. In mourning, it is active. It is not passive. Yeah, you might be sitting on your couch, pulling your eyes out. Or maybe you just woke up in the morning and you're crying. And it feels like you're not doing much. But that's active. You're mourning. In the Bible, it says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." You can only get to the other side of the blessings, the other side of the rewards, if you go through it. You got to go through the mess. You can't cap out. Another verse says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. It doesn't say, yea, though I camp in the valley of the shadow of death. You got to keep going through. You got to go through this. Mourning, just crying, is active. It is not passive, though you might feel like you don't want to do anything and you're locked up in your room. Feel your feelings, go through it. That is still being active. It is not passive. Now, this is also challenging for us. But again, with that feeling, you got to cry until you can't cry anymore. You know, it's got to come out. It's got to come out. You know, and some people don't have places or people that are safe. So then it's just you in your room. Or maybe the bathroom. The 10 minutes you get. Or maybe you go to the park or you go on a hike. And you get to the place by the waterfall and you just feel. If you're not a crier, I don't know what to say, because I feel like there's certain things that should break your heart. But it only breaks your heart if you allow it to. And what I mean by that is, I feel like for some of us, we have this wall. And what's happened is, what we've done is we've plugged up the holes, even though so many bullets have gone through and we're bleeding. But because we've plugged up these walls, or we've plugged up the holes, that we're not able to let it out. We don't let it out. But the truth is, it's penetrated. It's gone through. It's hit us. We're impacted. You got to get it out. Just like with retaining the emotions, you got to get it out. And I already mentioned this earlier, and it might come back to, setting a time for it. Crying, at least, okay, so one of the reasons why I love acting, because when I was growing up, there was a lot of hard things I had to deal with, or I went through. And I didn't feel like I could feel like it was wrong to be angry or sad, because it would hurt someone else's feelings, or even happy. And so the nice thing about acting is that it let me be me. It was okay if I was sad or angry or happy, because I'm just acting. I'm pretending to be someone else. And so a lot of ways I felt like I got to be more me. And that's one of the things I love about it. I can step into a role and sometimes be more honest than I could have. And so maybe that's something for you. Or maybe it's not the case for acting of you stepping into a role, but maybe you set aside a time because you're a mother and you have little ones, and you also have a husband, and you're trying to manage everything in addition to your 9 to 5 and your but your side business that you've been working on, you're trying to grow. You got to set aside a time. Set it aside, even if it's just 5 minutes, even if it's just 2 minutes. Set a time so you can start going through this. Because that's the only way to go forward, even if it's that crazy little path of grieving where it's not a nice linear line. You got to go forward. Forward progress, like a river. That's one thing I tell people, that success, it looks like a river, where sometimes you're going forward and then suddenly you're going back, and then it's going up and around, and the river winds. And there might be a part where, like, wait a minute, this is the exact same part I was at a couple months ago. Like, I've made no progress. I've actually gone backwards. But the truth is that's not the case. You've actually traveled miles. It's just the way that the river wound, it's traveling back again to the same point. But you're still going forward. You still got to go forward. Set that time. So you can. Now with actors, one of our challenges is going to be the danger of performing grief. Because we know what it looks like. We've studied it in others. You got to feel it. You got to feel it. It's messy. You know, I feel like we have a day and age right now. We're on Instagram and social media, you know, TikTok, YouTube, where we post only the nice fuzzies. So like, oh, look, I've done this and this amazing thing. And look, this food is perfect. And I look super cute in my makeup and whatever. Instead of the reality of what we're going through at that moment, or the ugliness, the messiness in life. And as actors, because we know what it looks like, we can easily step into a role of where we're pretending to grieve, because I know what it looks like in different people. But what does it look like for you in this moment? The way you grieve, the way I grieve for my dad is different than the way I grieve for my grandmother. And I was with them both when they passed away. I saw the last breaths. But it's different. And that's okay. If you're grieving differently for your loved one and you feel like you're not doing enough or there must be something wrong with you because it doesn't look like how others in your family are grieving or how you've grieved before, each experience is unique. And how you're feeling this right now is unique to how you're feeling this right now. And that is okay. But don't perform it just because you feel like it needs to look a certain way for others. Don't do that to yourself. It's not worth it. You know, one of the things I was concerned with, because I was like, I don't really seem to be depressed or like hitting me too hard, at least on the outside. Like I'm still pretty functional. I'm going to wipe away my nose. I wasn't prepared for my nose to run. I don't wipe away my tears, but yeah, sorry. I just remembered, I was like, I'm not experiencing this how I remember. And, or I felt like I should have been experiencing it differently. And then I realized, I'm like, I wonder if I'm mildly depressed. Because one of the things that was happening to me was suddenly I would just feel so tired in the middle of the day, like 11 o'clock. And I just wanted to go sleep. And I would feel it just come over me. I'm like, what is going on? And I remember I'd mentioned this one person, I'm like, I don't know if I'm like mildly depressed. And he treats me like I'm his kid sister. And he's like, oh, you're just getting old. Like, pretty sure it's not that. And so I actually looked it up. I'm like, what are signs of depression in women? And one of them actually is where you're just feeling like that. So I was like, okay, I am. And then the next step I took was to be vocal about it. And I told my friend, I reached out to her. I'm like, you know what? I think I need to tell someone. And I called my friend at the time. I called her up, and in our conversation, I told her, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm depressed. I feel like on the outside world, like I look pretty functional, but I could tell something's slightly off. And, you know, I just get this sleepiness that would just come over me, and it didn't make sense. And just something about me telling her that kind of helped to break it off, where it didn't really have that power over me anymore. So I would just encourage you to look at yourself and see what's going on with you. Do you feel a little off? Maybe look up the signs for depression, because it might be one of them might register with you, and it might be as fully you may not feel it like as extreme, but like, oh wait, I see touches of this. I see touches of that. Look it up so that way you know. But also tell someone else. Because again, like for me, I didn't experience that with my grandmother. But for me, I wasn't expecting it to show up like that. And it was more challenging because my grandmother, we lost her. Well, it was over. She was passed away at 103. So we had a lot of time with her. Meanwhile, with my dad, it was just very different. And like pancreatic cancer, if you don't know, it's one of the more challenging ones. And an unfortunate accident at work is how we found out he had it. So in some ways it was a blessing because we were able to have him longer than we would have, even though work was being horrible to him. But it was still like what that kind of cancer in general, but that kind of cancer does to the body is pretty brutal. So, yeah, it was definitely different. And what I saw with my dad was definitely harder. It was definitely, yeah. And I was my grandmother's caretaker for like, I don't know, a year and a half or so. She fell and broke her hip a month before her 100th birthday. Anyways, and here's another thing that we don't often talk about, but is true. Guilt and grief live together. You know, I look back at the ways that I could have been a better daughter, a better human to my dad. That's hard. You know, at the time I could justify my actions because I'm trying to protect myself, or just, you know, he played a part in it too. We're both very flawed people. But living with both that guilt and grief, they live together. And I think that's something we don't talk about enough. They do absolutely live together. But guilt does not equal shame. Guilt does not equal shame. Oh my goodness. I really should have I didn't get any Kleenex prepared. I knew I was going to cry. I never wipe away my tears, but I wasn't expecting my nose to run like this. So excuse me. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. This is so bad. Okay. Ay Dios. Oh my goodness. Let me wipe it on my pants. This is so bad. Anyways, I'm hoping you guys are getting a little laugh relief from this. All right. So guilt says I did something wrong. Okay. Again, guilt and shame are not the same. Shame says I am wrong. And that's important to distinguish that. I do have guilt over the ways, over my interactions, or even just, or sometimes like the feeling that would come up over me. Like sometimes, if I'm honest, sometimes I felt like he wasn't trying hard enough. This is going to sound so horrible. But like he was having a pity party. And because of that, like he wanted us to do for him when he still could. Now that might have been true sometimes. And that might not have been true in others. But I could feel that just come out of me at times. And that's definitely something I feel guilty for feeling that. Even if I didn't act in a way because of what I felt. That's still something that I feel guilty for. It's like, how could I not be more compassionate? I'll tell you this. Being a caretaker, and I shared this responsibility with one of my other sisters. My youngest sister had 2 little ones. And so for me, I'd basically go to work, and after work, I'd go and be there with him for a chunk of hours. And then my sister would actually stay the night. When you're a caretaker and they're a parent, and it's this type of thing, it takes a toll, not just on them, but on you too. But it's important to distinguish that if you feel guilty, that's not shame. Right? Because it's about, I did something wrong. Not that I am wrong. I am wrong. I'm wrong to have done that, but I did something wrong. And in times like this, it's important to remember, the ways that I wasn't there for him like that. Or even in terms of my responses, how I treat him at times. But then also the ways, I was there for him. One of the times I was there, man, I don't want to be too graphic, but I heard a thud. I was with my grandmother in the kitchen. She's watching the Dodger game. My grandmother fell and broke her hip in early mid-June. And a month or so later, my dad got in his accident at work, like a couple weeks after that. And a month or so after that's when we found out he had pancreatic cancer. So I was there with my grandmother in the kitchen. I heard a thud. I was like, that's weird. Like, usually you don't hear a thud. And I thought about it for like half a second. I'm like, no, I should go check it out. He didn't say anything. And I found him on the floor on all fours. I don't know if it was just superhuman strength that came over me. He'd also had lost a lot of weight, but I was able to get him up off the floor. And luckily he was right by the bathroom, get him to the bathroom in time. And basically what I saw was he was dying right before my eyes. There was nothing I could do. I'm not going to tell you guys the details of what I saw, but I was there for him then. Yeah, there was truly nothing I could do. I remember at one point I realized this. I'm like, there is nothing I can do. Nothing. This is utterly out of my hands. The only thing I could do was pray. And gratefully, my father finally let us take him to the hospital because he wasn't letting us. And they were able to at least help get past that, whatever was happening with his journey at that time. But that's one of the ways I was there for him. Or even taking it when he wanted to. He was so stubborn. Oh man, he wanted to go to this one specific shop to see what they had for the car. And I'm like, Daddy, you're going to be sitting for a really long time. It's like hours away. That's okay. No. I'm like, Daddy, you're going to get uncomfortable. And, it's hard for you to sit them. No, I went, okay. I took him. And yeah, he was uncomfortable. Oh man, I really wish I thought about I needed a Kleenex. I'm so sorry. I just wiped that on my pants. Man, I gotta wash my pants. Okay. Forgiving yourself is not the same as excusing yourself. So I forgive myself, and I have to keep forgiving myself for the ways I failed, the ways I could have done better, the ways I could have been more gracious. But that's not excusing it. It's the same thing for you too. Whatever it is that you've done, whatever the ways that you feel that you failed, forgiving yourself doesn't mean you're excusing it. It's okay to forgive yourself. You need to. And this is really important for those of us that are prone to self-punishment. I don't know if it's an eldest child's thing, but if you are prone to self-punishment, you need to forgive yourself, and it's okay to. Now, this can also seem really challenging and incorrect too. Seek comfort and support. Now, if you have a lot of guilt, or guilt that the enemy is trying to twist into shame, you may feel like you're not deserving of comfort, support. That is absolutely not true. Again, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Seek it out. You're worth it. You're worth being comforted. You're deserving of the support. And for me, that was first and primarily came through God. I'm fortunate enough to have known God existed since I was little. My father, because we call ourselves Indian, and he taught us about the Creator, about the Great Spirit. And I, being a nerd, and I suppose challenging, and me, I don't know, I tested it, and God showed me who was real. And ever since then, I'm like, okay, it exists. So I can't really remember a time where I didn't know God wasn't there. And even in the midst of everything, even when I felt utterly alone, I know He's there. I don't know how you guys do it who don't believe in a God. Other than He's still gracious and good and still showers good things on you so you can be prosperous and survive and get through. But having Him has meant everything. It helps me to be more gracious with myself. I think that's probably one of the best sources of comfort, is going directly to Him. Because here's the thing though, He was there. He saw it all through His unfiltered eyes, right? Because even different people in the same room who saw the interaction are going to have their own heart filter on what happened. God sees the truth. I can't hide from Him what I was feeling, even what my dad was feeling. And so that's one of the great things with processing with Him. He knows the truth. Oh, that's helpful. Community. We need community. We're relational creatures. We're made for community. Seek out your friends who you can do that. And it might just be one friend, and that's okay. It might be a support group of strangers that you've never known before, and that's okay. But you need community. You got to get that comfort. And again, it's not the comfort of running away from the pain. It's to help you go through it, to deal with it. Don't get comfort from that chocolate cake. Don't get comfort from getting drunk. Don't get comfort from getting high. Don't get comfort from sleeping with 1,000 people. That's not going to comfort you. It just dulls it for a second, and now you have a whole bunch of other things, of messes to deal with. Seek your community so you can grieve this out. And part of processing, part of the comfort and releasing this is speaking out loud to the person, writing letters, visiting places. You know, there's times where, as I'm processing memories, I do speak out loud to my dad. There's something about speaking it out loud that helps. Don't just have the conversations in our head. As actors, we're great at creating worlds in our heads. Speak it out. There's so much power in speech. Maybe you're not comfortable just speaking out into the void. Write a letter. Maybe it's something that you end up burning. Again, this is part of the process of getting it out. And don't be afraid to visit those places that were precious to you, or maybe precious to them. And my dad, he had commented to me towards the end that he'd always wanted to go to Hawaii. I told him, I'm like, tell the doctors, you know, because if the doctor gave him clearance, we were absolutely taking him to Hawaii. He never got the chance to go. I don't think he even told the doctor. But maybe there's a special place that you guys shared. Maybe it was Disneyland, or a certain hike, or maybe it was this horrible place that had horrible coffee. Go to those places. Relive those memories. It's part of the grieving. It's part of the healing. It's part of the moving forward. Build a support system before you need it. Now, this is, you know, if you suddenly lose someone in a car crash, then your support system is based on your community that you've developed up to that time. But if it is someone that's, you know, you're losing to dementia or cancer or things like that, you know, there's the potential this is coming. We're all going to pass away at some point, right? That's just usually a signal it's more likely to happen sooner rather than later. And that could even look practically. I was at the time a second VP of archery for the state of California over this one type of tournament. Luckily, it was a mail-in match, so which means it's held at multiple locations. And I was like, I need to make sure I set this up where each site can be independent as much as possible. And I'm only dependent on doing this, I guess, not as little as possible, because it was still actually a pretty big deal what I did do for them. But making sure they still could go forward, because I'm like, if my dad gets worse during this time, I don't know that I'll be able to do things. Like physically, I don't know I'll have the time, because I'll be with him. And especially with that kind of thing, because sometimes it's a constant vigilance. So I wouldn't be able to like just work on my laptop. Like I'd need to be there where I could like see him at the corner of my, or quickly like keep glancing over or what have you. But I made sure that I carried out the structures where, again, each site was able to run it on their own, and I was needed as little as possible. So that was one of the supports that I had built in, because I knew this potentially would be coming. And it did coming between September 1st and Christmas. I want to say that my dad was taken to the hospital like 15 or 16 times. And so it was constant. And I'm so grateful to those sites who are already managing so much as it is. This is actually one of the easier tournaments to oversee because of how much individual sites do. But I'm so grateful to them and what they did during this time, because it helped me to still do my responsibilities, but to make sure things could still be functional for others. Another way that you could do too is, making sure you maybe already seek out, there's even a thing called pre-grief counselors, where they're helping you grieve beforehand. Because again, we know this is coming, and you're already starting to mourn the loss, even though they haven't gone yet. So it's one of the things you can do, is build your support system beforehand. But it's also important to mention this: professional help. Now, this doesn't, if you're not functioning right, if you're losing yourself, if you're having dark thoughts, look, just like how my dad had cancer and he needed to go to a doctor that specialized in cancer, if not just cancer, his type of cancer. Same thing with this. If you are sick, you're not functioning right, you are having horrible thoughts, you're not yourself, go see a doctor who can help you, who specializes in these things to help you. There is no shame in seeking professional help. Okay, now for some of us culturally, Latinos like, oh no, why are you gonna see that? You don't need to see a counselor. No, you just get over it. You just move on. Yeah, that's just generations of repression, not dealing with stuff and just carrying forward. If you need help, go seek out professional help. You are worth it. You deserve it. You deserve to live a long, full life. And we need you here. As an actor, we absolutely need actors who've lived life, who've gone things, who've been through the mess. But even outside of a career and what that can bring to your art, your craft, you deserve to live a full life. If you need professional help, go get it. Please. This world needs you more than you know. Grief changes. It doesn't end. Sometimes we think the goal is not to stop missing them. But it's about the way that we're going to carry grief differently. It's going to change. No, I can't tell you how soon it's going to soften. There'll be things that's going to pop up that's going to make it hard. But the grief is going to change. And it's okay if your timeline for grief changing is different than others. If it's not as painful for you, in 2 months, meanwhile, everybody's still deeply grieving this, you're on your own journey. You had your own experiences. Grief, again, it's going to change. And it's changing at the pace that's right for you, not for others. Now, if you're still stuck in this heaviness 6 years from now, that's when you need professional help. You shouldn't be stuck in it for 6 years. Your grief should be changing, just as you're changing. Your grief needs to change too. Now, one of the things that we don't talk about enough is secondary loss. And this is a loss of every version of yourself that only existed in relationship with that person. I was his daughter. I'm not his daughter anymore. I will always be his daughter. I knew growing up that, because my dad, he was a Marine. I just always knew, no guy better ever try to do anything to me, because my dad, let's just say he'll make sure I'm okay, or things were taken care of. I always knew I never had to worry about that, because he would take care of it. I don't have that anymore. And this is like one of the challenging things for actors, because we're trained on to understand how we are in relationship to others. So we're probably more in tune with this aspect of grief than others, this secondary loss. Because this person we used to always live life, play off of, is not there anymore. And that's been our focus, that's been our training. Who are we in when the scene comes in? Okay. How you deliver that? Okay. Who are you in the scene? Who is that person's relationship to you? How is that going to impact? Like, everything has just been that. And that can lead to guilt. And it pops up even years away. One of the things that I've thought about, if I get married, I'd love to get married, but if I do, who's going to walk me down the aisle? Do I have someone else standing in his place? Is that disrespectful? If I have no one when I'm actually walking down the aisle, am I just going to be overwhelmed because he's not there? I'm not even in that moment right now, but these are things I think of. I've always wanted to have kids. And even if I don't have my own kids, I've always wanted to adopt. Although I'd love to have kids, to bear the child, to be pregnant. He won't be there. All the amazing things that he would do, be an amazing grandfather, he's not going to be there for. Those are the secondary losses that keep coming up. Can make it challenging. But you need to let yourself feel joy again. This isn't a betrayal. And it doesn't mean that you've forgotten them. I think this is probably especially true for someone who's lost like a spouse or, a significant other, meaning like a boyfriend, like a romantic relationship. Let yourself feel joy again. You're not betraying your love. You're not betraying them. If they really loved you, they would want you to feel joy again. They would want warmth in your life. For some of you, that person that passed away that you are still grieving for may not have been a positive force. Jeez. Oh, I wasn't planned for this. And so there might be like a whole mindset thing behind you and feeling joy. Again, the same sun that melts butter, hardens clay. And part of you fighting for your heart to stay soft is letting yourself feel joy again. You deserve it. You're worth it. Again, joy, it's not a betrayal. You feeling joy is not a betrayal. I give you permission if you need it to feel joy. You have permission. Feel joy, you're not betraying them. And if they they told you that, or they made you feel that way, then that was already a toxic relationship. Again, we're flawed human beings, and I'm so sorry if that's what you're going through, but that is not true. Feeling joy again is not a betrayal. Again, as actors, we have to live life fully. And you got to come back to the joy. There's absolutely a time for sorrow and mourning, but there's a time for joy. And it's going to be, it'll be like in little things. You go and you see your friend's newborn baby and the giggles of a newborn. Or you see a sunset. It's just like, it's so beautiful and it brings this joy in you. Or you finish this insanely hard project. You're like, yes! That victory. Or maybe it's, as much as I've said, don't eat the chocolate cake. Maybe it's you go and you get a nice ice blended coffee or a donut or whatever. And it's just like, oh, this tastes so good. This feels so nice. It can be little joys, simple joys. And at first, that's probably all you're going to be able to handle. Joy and grief can coexist. So just because you are feeling this doesn't mean that that you've completely moved on, or that grief isn't still going to come around. Because it will. I saw a video the other day that, because I have been feeling pretty emotional the past couple weeks, and I think it has mostly to do with processing my dad, and my birthday's coming up. And this one portion of the video, they're explaining grief is like glitter, where, glitter gets everywhere. And you find glitter months, years later, in spots you never expected, like a pocket or in your car and stuff. And it'll look different, right? The memory, when it comes back, it'll feel different. It won't be as like that initial thing of glitter where it's everywhere and just raw. But they coexist. Joy and grief coexist. I had so many Post-it notes, I had to put it down here at the bottom. Let yourself love again. That can be hard. It is hard, especially depending on how much guilt is in there. Let yourself love again. You're worth it. If you need permission, this is your permission to let yourself love again. Now, I hope it's obvious, but let me say this in case it's not. I don't mean, okay, your husband died Tuesday and today's Wednesday morning and you're going out and you found love again. That's something else that's going on. Okay. But it's okay to have love again. And that might be one of the most courageous things you can do, is to allow yourself to love again. Because you know the pain. You have the fear of the pain of what's happened. But still choosing to do that. That's the only time that we can be courageous. It's the only time we can be courageous, is when there's fear present. Loving again is an act of courage. And it may not feel like it, but it's actually the beginning of you getting stronger. Let yourself love again. You gotta feel the joy. It's not just bad. There's a lot of beauty in this life too. We got, and part of that comes through reframing the pain. Love is the thing grief is made of. It's the other side of the coin. You're only in this pain because of the love you had. It's the only reason why the pain exists. Because if you didn't care, if if there was no love there, it wouldn't be coming out. So, love is the thing that grief is made of. Now, this can feel sometimes disrespectful. Move forward. That's not moving away from them. You can't stay stuck. We want to stay stuck. As actors, we're really good about creating this whole life that doesn't exist just in our mind's eye, whether it's for the audition or you're doing theater, this whole world, or even on set. You know, there's usually only half of the room is actually real. The rest is fake. Very rarely are we in a real location. We're very good at creating these fake worlds. And we're like, no, we want to live in that fake world where they still exist. Or maybe where you're still entertaining your guilt. And moving forward isn't moving away from them. They're with you. They're with you. Some of the best parts of me are from my dad. I got from him. I carry him with me. You know, my whole foundation of belief is because of what he taught me about being Indian. I carry that with me. It's my foundation. It's part of my core. That's not leaving. That's not going anywhere. It's defined who I am. And me moving forward in things is not moving away from him. I had a good dad. I know not everybody has good dads. When we were younger, he would tell us, look, don't let someone tell you can't do something because you're a girl. You can do whatever you want. He cast big vision for us. And that's what fathers are so important for, is identity. Fathers are so important for that. That's why we need fathers. We need men. They shape identity. He told us we could do anything we wanted to. It's so sad that so many people, they look to TV or social media like, oh, I never saw myself represented there. And the first place you should be represented is in your mind. Seeing yourself be president or an astronaut or a mechanic, whatever it is, CEO, whatever it is. That should have been crafted first at home. So I'm not moving away from my dad as I move forward in life, as I'm moving forward with feeling, moving forward with joy, moving forward with loving. It's not moving away from him. Just like you moving forward, even if that means you need to move out of that house. Even if that means to sell or give away that item. It doesn't mean that you're moving away from them. You carry them with you as you move forward. Life keeps happening, and you deserve to experience it. We need you here. We need your perspective. I need you here. I need your perspective. There's hearts that only you can touch. The way I describe it is each of us, our heart has like a thumbprint. And just like the biometric system or security system, some hearts can only be unlocked by your thumbprint. There's people who will never be able to receive or hear what I have to say, even if you think I'm a good speaker or whatever. They'll never receive it from me. Because their heart doesn't have my thumbprint that will unlock it. But their heart has your thumbprint. And when you say the same words, the exact same tone, everything it unlocks with you that it wouldn't unlock for me. We need you here. Fully here. Not trapped in grief. Not trapped in guilt. Not trapped in shame that doesn't belong to you. Show up. You deserve it. You're worth it. This life is more beautiful with you in it. Now, this is something that, don't look for this necessarily right away. This might be something that you'll only be able to even think of, let alone see, maybe even years from now. The lesson. Now, it doesn't justify the loss. Okay, that's not what this is about. But it can help you to give it meaning. One of the things that so my alarm clock, when it goes off, there was times I was getting up like at 3:15 in the morning because of how long my workout routine is. I need to get my workout routine first thing in the morning. It's not going to happen. Plus, I want to be able to shower and whatnot. So, 3:15 or more likely 4:15, my alarm clock goes off. My alarm clock, I push that. I hit snooze a lot of times. My phone, right? Hitting snooze. Because I'm like, nope. I don't want to get up. And one of the things that it hit me, my dad would love to be able to get up today. And so, even if it didn't come out of my mouth, I have to get up. I was thinking it. I have to get up. What I first started doing was when that would happen, I would then say, I get to get up. And I'd still hit snooze. This is taking time. But I'm now in a place where my alarm clock goes off. And the thought that comes to my mind is, I get to get up. And it's being grateful for that. I don't know what the lesson will look like for you, and it might be too painful to even consider now. One of the beautiful things about a lesson is it's another way you can carry it with you. So maybe it's the doing better or how to be better. Like, one of the things I want to make sure is that I am in a place financially where, God forbid that happens to my mom, that I can hire someone who comes and will be her nurse and take care of her, so we don't have to be the caretakers, because it changes the roles. Now, don't mistake me. When I was my grandmother's caretaker, that was probably one of the hardest and most rewarding things in my life. And I wouldn't take that back. I'm very grateful to have experienced that. But for my dad, I do wish it would have been so much better. I feel like if we could have had nursing care who would be there to take care of him, and that way we could still come and just be daughters, instead of also the nurse and the dietitian and whatever else. We could just be daughters. And so that's one of the things I want to make sure that I do, so that way, God forbid that happens to my mom, I still could just be her daughter. And I don't have to be the one, no, you have to take this medicine, no, you gotta get wired. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to just be her daughter. But then also looking out, for me and my future. How can I make sure that for my family, they don't have to be my caretaker if I'm in a similar situation? They could still just be my sister, my niece, my family member. So it'll look different ways. And again, it's when you're ready to look at that. I'm sure there's people who are going to post in the comment section about their loved one. And I would just ask that we be gracious towards them. Gracious hearts. Thank you guys so much for your time, especially watch this all the way through. You are a trooper. Thank you for your patience with me. I did my best to try to organize this. I hope I was able to give you value and tips, and maybe just most importantly for you to know you're not alone. And especially as actors, we're going to grieve this we're going to grieve it differently from our innate abilities and our training. We just grieve things differently. Feel the pain. Own up if there's any guilt. Let go of the shame. Forgive yourself. It's not excusing yourself. Feel. Let joy come back in. Find your support system. Love again. Move forward. We need you. I'm excited to see the content that you guys create. Have a good day.